Coach Tony.
I'm digging the stinger. All right. Hey, listen, while we were at break, we did get a news flash up from Milton, New York, that the 10U Stingrays won their first game, apparently. And without getting into specifics, because I am her dad, apparently Dominique played very, very well. Sweetheart, if you are listening, congratulations. They're sitting waiting for their next game to begin, so hopefully they keep their untarnished streak of winning pretty much every tournament they play intact. Hey, before I get back to some more emails, I want to get to some callers here. It turns out that we have Alan who is calling in. Hey, Alan, you're on Let Them Play.
Well, first of all, my name is Aaron Rogers from Long Island.
Oh, Aaron. Aaron. I thought I was going to skate through this whole week without anybody mentioning the Steelers.
I figured you picked that up real quick, but
yeah, well, Aaron, I tell you what.
Congratulations, first of all.
On?
You should be congratulating me, first of all.
Listen. All right, you know what? Let's get this off the table because I don't want any other callers talking about this. Aaron Rodgers played very, very well. What's a little disheartening for myself and the rest of the Steeler Nation is that from the get-go, Ben Roethlisberger played like crap. He was off. He never found a rhythm. It was that second pick, he looked at that receiver from when he broke from the huddle. I could have jumped that route. He played really poorly, and he picked a lousy time to play the worst game of the season, and he still wrenches my heart by bringing it down to the last possession. So, yeah, you know what? I'll give my props, because guess what? My good buddy Mark Cassetta, who is one of the head coaches at Team New York Baseball, he's a big Packers fan as well. I'll give my props. That can't be why you called.
No, I just figured I didn't hear you mention anything at all about Steeler Nation.
Gotcha.
I think I got to get that in. I am calling about playing up.
All right, what do you think about
I think one of your emails was right about it's most definite about the maturity of the player. I think you have to stay away from parent evaluations, like the father of the child making the decision. It is a very tough situation, and I think it's like you said before, it goes child to child, how a kid can deal with it. Can he deal with disappointment? Because by playing up, you're not going to dominate as you would on a lower level. It's got to be fun for the child to do it, because just like anything else, if it's not fun, they're gonna get away from it. They're not going to want to do it.
Yeah, I don't even know why. I mean, when I talk about parental involvement, I think the only parental involvement should be, I mean, granted, you want to suggest it, that's fine. You're not going to have any input into it. What you should have is final say, because I will tell you, I got a couple of emails this week about leagues that decided that, guess what, your kid is going to play up. And the parents actually weren't really thrilled about it, and what wound up happening was the younger age travel group really suffered, because three of what would have been their top players were now playing up. And guess what role they played on that older team?
They sat on a bench.
They sat the bench. Right. So you screwed up two teams in essence and three little kids, and you pissed off quite a few parents. So, the parents' only involvement should be, hey, Mr. Fiorino, we think that TJ should be playing up with the New York Yankees. What do you think? And my reaction would be, well, he's probably not going to get as much playing time because, Derek Jeter's close to giving up shortstop, but not just yet. And so I want him to stay on Chico's bail bonds. That's the only input. This should really be an objective decision that comes from coaches.
Right.
And you interview the kid and you see what he or she thinks about it as well.
I think you do have to have some kind of evaluation process from like somebody outside of the father or maybe the coach of the kid to see if he can handle it. And it's just like anything else. I think some emailers are right about he's got to feel comfortable with the kids he's playing with. It's got to be something that he's able to do, he's able to deal with. As long as they understand going in that he might not have as much playing time, and he's going to be pushed, and there's going to be some disappointments. And if the child, I think, can deal with it, if you can sit down and talk in their terms and explain to them that if they can understand it, then maybe it's a good move for them to do. Because you know what, I think it is a good point about being somewhat challenged. I'm not talking about getting blown away on the next level. I'm talking about by staying where he is he going to be bored? Is he not going to be into playing so much? Is he going to be looked at by other kids as he's too good, we don't want to play with him, or it's not fair that he's playing with us? And
yeah, they may try to knock him down a peg. There are a lot of pieces to this that I think are going to really
what
have
do you
an
think
impact.
is more important, playing at a lower level and dominating, or coming up and being pushed a little bit to see if he can play on the next level?
My opinion?
Yeah.
You know what? I very rarely, actually, I do speak a lot of black and white. In my opinion, especially the younger the kid, I think for the development of the kid, he is much, much, much better off dominating at his own age level than playing up and being average or even a little bit above average. And the reason why is when kids are young, the most important deciding factor in their development and their progress is a love for the game and to continue to play it. And there's a subtlety here, and I'm going to do this for everybody else. So, John, I want to thank you for the call. There's a subtlety here. As a coach, I would much rather spend my time teaching some advanced stuff to a 10-year-old who's playing among 10-year-olds than having him slip behind playing up with 12-year-olds. And the point is, if you have a really good 10-year-old, you go past simple blocking and tackling or volleying or fielding and hitting, and you can start teaching them finer aspects of the game because they get the other stuff. And there are a lot of other moving parts to this. Matter of fact, there are a couple of interesting thoughts that came in this week that address some of the things that are not so obvious. One of them comes in from Baseball Guy, who writes in and says, "Hey, Coach Tony, let me know what you think about this. My son plays baseball and is in 7th grade, and my town has divisions based on grade. I personally think that's a great way to do it because it keeps the kids in their own social circles. Here's my dilemma. My kid has a June birthday, and so this summer he is still playing 12U, which still uses a Little League field with a 46-foot mound and 60-foot bases. Our in-town program groups the 7th graders through the 9th graders together, playing on a Major League dimension field with a 60-foot mound and 90-foot bases. I don't believe in playing up at all, but it seems like things will get very confusing for us this year. What do you think?" That is a great example, and I don't know why baseball continues to be the one sport that has so many subtleties to it, but you nailed one here. If your kid is going to play the entire spring season with kids who are for the first time pitching from 60 foot 6 inches and making throws on a 90-foot dimension diamond, that is a very, very, very different game than 12-year-old kids who are going to be throwing gas from 46 feet. It's the equivalent of what I would say comparing a 107-mile-an-hour fastball to a 50-mile-an-hour fastball. In the course of, let's say, when the spring season ends and the summer season begins, your kid will have been used to seeing a pitch where he could literally count to 3 before he swings, to then, in the summer, not having a half a second to adjust and swing the bat. I think in this particular case, I don't know if there's a solution other than, I hate to say it, take the spring off. It's not the end of the world. I think you'll do so much more harm than good having your kid on a larger field, spending the whole spring adjusting to a very slow pace. If you ever watched a game of 13-year-old baseball players, and in town especially, it's like death, except more painful and slower. So comparing that to the fastest-paced game that exists, which is 12-year-olds, it's literally night and day, and I wouldn't want to put a kid through that at all. So, Baseball Guy, I hope that helps. You know what? We're going to try to get to another caller here before we go to break. We're going to go to Frank. Hey, Frank, you're on Let Them Play.
Hey, Coach Tony, how are you?
I'm great. What's going on?
I got a slight problem with the last comment you made about preferring a kid dominating on a smaller level than pushing himself on a harder level.
Uh-huh.
We had a kid in Little League last year who pitched 11 to 12-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
Was about 6'1", 130 pounds. His father, a former minor league baseball player. Obviously, this kid knew what he had to do on the baseball field. Totally overmatched anybody he played against on the 11 to 12-year-old baseball field. He was snapping off curveballs on 0-2 to 11-year-old kids who barely had time to react to his fastball. At that point, shouldn't somebody step in and have this kid, not only for safety levels, just because there was absolutely no challenge at all for this young man to pitch against these younger kids. I understand having confidence and enjoying what you do, but it shouldn't be enjoying blowing people away on a small stage like an 11, 10-year-old baseball field.
Well, again, we're talking about two different things here. You're talking in terms of what's best for the league and for the kids as a whole. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. Like I said, we're not going to solve this today. So I don't disagree with what you're saying. If it was my son, you have to be intellectually honest and decide for yourself what's best for that kid. And again, we're talking on a kid-by-kid basis. If a kid is 6'1", 135, my guess is he is ready to play with 13-year-olds. Well, what I talked about earlier was, would I rather see a kid be average at playing up or enjoy the fact that he's the best kid on the team? Now, this is a pretty 11 or 12-year-old kid that's 6'1". That's the exception, not the rule, certainly. But I would still say, if it was my kid, you don't know if that kid, let's say, was afraid to go play with 13-year-olds. You don't know if he just said, hey, Dad, these are my friends. I want to play with these guys. There's not enough information there, but I still will stand by my statement because while it may not be best for all the kids in that league when they face that one kid, again, I'm looking at this through the eyes of the parent and the individual kid. So, think about it. Let's play this one out a little bit. I'm actually having a little brainstorm here. What if the league stepped in and said that kid has to go play at 13, and the kid has a miserable experience and is, let's say, below average, whether it's because he's not mentally there yet or 13-year-old kids can all of a sudden hit him? Is that really then fair to the kid himself who's 12?
Not to interrupt you, Coach Tony,
but you just did.
How bad of an experience can it be playing in-town Little League baseball at a year, a different field? I understand playing with your friends and being comfortable. I totally understand that, but I didn't see any advantage at all, and not even as a whole, just any advantage for his son or his father to have this child completely dominate on that level where it wasn't even, worth it.
Well, again, this seems like a pretty drastic example. I will tell you, just from what I heard, kid throwing from 46 feet shouldn't be throwing curveballs is just my personal opinion. And if the kid is as good as he said he was, if the dad played minor league ball, he would have been probably a lot better served teaching the kid how to throw a changeup instead of, potentially burning him out at the ripe old age of 12. If he's that big and that good, this kid may actually play in high school, maybe even go on and play in college. So, it sounds like you got a short-sighted dad there, and that may be part of the reason why he didn't play up. Maybe that dad is more interested in saying, hey, let's just juice him while we got him, and let's just blow away every kid that we face. So, again, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, and Frank, I really appreciate the call. You know what? Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna go to a quick break, and then of course I'll be back with some more of your calls at 914-693-5700. I'll also be taking some more of these emails. But you know what? Before we go to break, I do want to remind you guys, I am truly very appreciative of the fact that you guys contact me during the week and give me some ideas for what you want to see and hear on the show. If you think there's a really cool story that we have to cover, like a great, outstanding school team or a local story that needs a little bit of extra attention, please go to the blog. It's www.heycoachtony.com and click Contact Us, or you can email me directly at heycoachtony@gmail.com and let me know what you think. Stick around, folks. Be right back.